unpacking today's headlines. This is Souls and Liberty in Depth.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to In Depth, a production of Souls and Liberty. If you're wondering about this, we'll tell you in just a second, but this weekend is specifically Sunday, is the Feast of St. Michael and the Archangels, and that's what today's show is about.
A lot of Christians don't want to believe that there is spiritual darkness. We don't want to think about it. We like to think in our modern sensibilities that everything is just, in some way a secular reality, but it's not.
St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. And if there's ever been a time that we need to be praying that, each and every Catholic in this country and across the world, it's now.
All right, 39 days to go. And as we said this weekend, Catholics are celebrating the Feast of St. Michael, whose protection we need as a nation like no other time. Now, hey, Boris, what about that hat? Well, today's Friday. We're producing the show on Friday, shooting it on Friday, putting it out on Friday. Friday also just happens to be my specific archery day. I take archery lessons since I've come here to Houston. They're kind of fun. That's not really the point of the hat, though, because the point of the hat is to hold this particular relic. This is a relic. You may not recognize it, but it's a relic. It's a feather from the wing of St. Michael. Sort of. Joining us today on this special edition of In Depth are Stephen Wynn and Arthur Clareau to talk about St. Michael and the Angels. I'm your host, Gary Michael Robin Hood Voris, right here in Houston. Arthur, let's start with you. Angelic protection. It's a real thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, let's start with Psalm 91. He shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. And then move on throughout the Bible. There's numerous references. And then even ever since, there have been numerous stories and testimonies of miracles and angelic protection. It's hard to dispute.
Yeah, even Jesus talks about the angels. Says, don't do anything to any one of these little ones. Warning to the pedophiles running around the entire establishment of elites right now. Don't harm a little one, for their angel beholds their Father's face in heaven at all times. So, yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. We're going to get into how real it is. Stephen, there's a phenomenon that a lot of people don't really actually know about regarding specifically St. Michael. You've done a little background for us and probably have some good notes for us. Tell us about it.
Yes. And I will be referring to those notes because there's a lot of information on it. Yeah, there's a fascinating phenomenon called St. Michael's Line, or the Sword of St. Michael. And basically, this is a series of 7 holy sites that stretch across the heart of Catholic Europe into the Middle East. Now, each of these sites were constructed over the course of centuries, in the beginning, roughly in the 5th century. And they're fairly evenly spaced out. Again, they stretch over 2,500 miles, and basically in a direct line from the southwestern coast of Ireland to Mount Carmel in Haifa, Israel. And it's just really interesting because it's much more than just a geographical phenomenon. I really think it's spiritual, it's mystical. Each of these sites is associated with St. Michael in one way or another. Starting in Ireland, for example, just off the southwestern coast, there is Skellig Michael, and that is an island where St. Michael is said to have appeared to St. Patrick in the 5th century, helping him ultimately drive out the snakes, according to pious legend. In England, the second site, St. Michael's Mount, basically this was a site where St. Michael appeared to a group of fishermen who were caught in a terrible storm in 495 A.D. He guided them to this island, and out of thanksgiving, they ended up constructing a church there and dedicating that to him. In France now, Mont Saint-Michel. If anyone has ever been to France or seen pictures of France, they will recognize Mont Saint-Michel. It's the most visited site, a tourist site outside of Paris, in the entire country outside of Paris. There, St. Michael appeared to a French bishop in 708. and told him to build a church on this rocky outcrop, which was previously dedicated to pagan worship. Moving into Italy now, there are two sites in Italy. The Abbey of St. Michael is near Turin. There, St. Michael appeared to a hermit and asked that a church be built there. And further to the southeast, Monte Sant'Angelo, basically that was the first recorded apparition site of St. Michael in all of Europe. He was said to have appeared there in 490 AD. He ordered the bishop to build a sanctuary to him in a cave just outside of town there, and he promised protection to the local Catholic inhabitants there if the bishop would do so. He promised that they would be shielded from pagan invaders, which of course were becoming more and more rampant at that time. Then in Greece, Toxiarchus Monastery, that houses a magnificent icon, huge icon of St. Michael that is said to have appeared miraculously on that spot, on that very spot. And it is also said to have returned miraculously multiple times once it had been removed. Again, it's that monastery is built on the site of a former pagan temple. Finally, in Israel, Stella Maris Monastery, dedicated to Our Lady, Star of the Sea, on Mount Carmel, Israel, just outside of Haifa, the third largest city in Israel. Its association is not directly connected to St. Michael, but it's associated with him because of his association with Elijah in the Old Testament. Of course, we remember that Elijah called down fire from heaven to consume his sacrifice, making a total mockery of the prophets of Baal, and showing again the supremacy of God. According to a Ukrainian Catholic legend, it says that Mount Carmel was basically the spot where St. Michael gave the thunder of God to Elijah to help him fight the prophets of Baal. And so these sites are all connected in one way or another to St. Michael interceding directly into the affairs of men. And there's a theme, if you'll notice, that basically all of them are connected to his help or to him basically building. Most of these sites were former pagan sites of worship, and now we have magnificent churches, monasteries, abbeys built on these sites. And again, it's also the line, St. Michael's sword, again, as it's sometimes called, is a direct line. It's basically directly traces the path of the sun during the summer solstice, which of course has been central to pagan worship throughout millennia, basically. So I think it really speaks to his role. It reaffirms his role as the angel, the archangel who defends God's legacy, God's status as God, crushes paganism, crushes the darkness, and shields the faithful from diabolical oppression. Basically, it's just really, really interesting. And again, these 7 sites, they were constructed over the course of centuries. There was no communication like there is today. There was this. It's not like these were pre-planned. This is not a human phenomenon. Really, it's supernatural.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You obviously have had the map up while you're showing that, and it is an absolute direct straight line there from Ireland all the way to Mount Carmel in Israel. It's like, wow. So yeah, it's like, is this where the sword went? Bam! The sword. Anyway, it doesn't matter if there's an actual sword or not. The point is that what it all points to is what you said. It's the conquest of paganism, probably not seen any more dramatically than actually on Mount Carmel itself there. So yeah, that's a very, very good synopsis. Thanks for the map on that and helping us help the viewers see all of that. And again, go look it up. It's St. Michael's Sword map, geographical line, but as Stephen said so wonderfully and correctly, it's much more spiritual than it is actual geographical and scientific. But it is geographical and scientific as well to point to the spiritual. Thanks, Stephen, for that. We're going to step away for just one quick moment here. break from the narrative and say, if you like what you hear here, heck, if you like this hat, please click that donate button. And Crew's starting to snicker in the studio here. I don't want to give away the relic of St. Michael's feather, but maybe if you're able to donate something, we'll see. We'll find out. In either case, please just click the donate button if you like. We do things here like nobody else does in the Catholic Christian media world, connecting all spirituality with cultural and all that sort of thing. So that's what we do here. So we call it Souls and Liberty. Okay, back to this. Arthur, after Stephen's explanation there of how the whole thing goes, let's move on to talk specifically about the role of, for example, guardian angels. I mean, St. Michael's an archangel, and in St. Thomas's hierarchy of angels, archangels are actually the 8th rank, and guardian angels are the 9th rank, the bottom rank. They're the ones closest to us. But again, I mean, we have examples of Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel named in sacred scripture.
Yeah, I mean, that's technically the name of the feast, is the Feast of St. Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel. I think it is particularly interesting, though, that this happens every year. This is a long part of Western tradition, starting with the church. But I mean, it's been celebrated across the British Isles and in America, obviously, which was settled by mostly people from the British Isles. But there's a part of this called, or part of the St. Michael's Mass time called Red Mass in the United States, which is specifically used to pray for judges, lawyers, and the people who wield the law. And I think that is sorry to deviate a little bit away from the guardian angels. We can come back to that in a second, but I really do think that is an interesting and kind of poignant aspect of this at this particular time when lawfare is running rampant, and where you have just this need for true justice, not this politicized, biased nonsense, but actual justice, stopping evil, crushing evil, and protecting the good and the innocent. So during this time, if we're praying, which we should be, let's be praying for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody to pray to for justice more than the angels, particularly of course, St. Michael. Stephen, on the question of guardian angels, you always see these paintings or drawings or artworks of something of kind of a wispy, ethereal, floaty, kind of sort of feminine-y thing. I'm not quite sure how and when that got into Western art, or cherubs being these sort of fat little babies. And that's obviously, from the Baroque period. But part of what the artwork does is it kind of draws away from the reality that these angels, all of them, and the higher up the hierarchy you go, the more fierce and, from our eyes, terrifying they become. I mean, every single time an angel appears in scripture to somebody, they're terrified. They're not like, oh, look at the cute fat little baby. Stephen.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I remember as a kid, I was probably 5 or 6, getting a holy card that depicted St. Michael trouncing Lucifer. And I'll be honest, Lucifer looked a lot cooler than St. Michael did. He was buff. St. Michael, as you described it, had these sort of feminine features. I don't know. It was just, I remember even as a kid thinking that's weird. St. Michael should look much cooler, much more awesome, much more formidable than the devil, because he is. So I know it's how do you depict the angelic in art? It's a tall order, but I don't like how most of it is done, really, because it does not communicate the truth about angels. They are magnificent creatures. They are far more powerful than any diabolical being, and it's incredible that God has assigned each one of us a personal angel to accompany us, throughout our walk in life, and that He's assigned, Father Chad Ripperger, noted exorcist here in the U.S. He talks about. He says every country, every state, every city has a specific guardian assigned to it, and I just think that's fantastic. I personally can't imagine how many times I have had caused my own guardian angel to intervene in my own affairs. I'll find out ultimately on the other side, but I've kept him busy, I know, and it's just very reassuring that we have them.
Yeah, I guess one of the marks of holiness would be that your guardian angel is kind of bored.
Yes.
All the saints, really, what did Mother Teresa's guardian angel do? I mean, just go, she's holier than me, so I don't really have, check the box here. It's if you die and you have an guardian angel who's exhausted, that's probably not a good sign. Guys, we're going to step away for just one moment here, talk about the retreat at sea, and then we're going to come right back. No matter who wins in November, we have to embrace that we are living in a post-Christendom culture. And the heart of that is a rejection of the gospel. As one item on our agenda to combat this, Souls and Liberty is hosting our first annual retreat at sea. You might be familiar with the annual event we produced for over 10 years at Church Militant. Dr. Jules Gomez, our Rome correspondent, and I are going to be doing the presenting, and the theme is Christians in Exile Triumphing in Adversity, which provides a whole range of discussions to think about. Now, we sail out of Galveston, Texas to the Western Caribbean November 10th to the 17th, yes, right after the election. I think all of us are probably going to need it one way or the other. Please join us for serious discussion, spiritual preparation, and bonding, very important, bonding with fellow Catholics. Registration information is provided below and on our site at soulsandliberty.com/retreat-at-sea 2024. So sign up and we hope to see you there. All right, be sure, click on the link, do what you need to do, come on that retreat at sea. It's a great time. Stephen, you got some thoughts about Pope Leo XIII and St. Michael.
Yes. In 1884, following a vision of Satan attacking the church like never before, Pope Leo XIII composed a prayer familiar to many Catholics. It begins, St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. And if there's ever been a time that we need to be praying that, each and every Catholic in this country and across the world, it's now.
Absolutely. All right. That's well said, well thought out, and we need to absolutely do that. Man, we need him big time. Arthur, closing thoughts on St. Michael and the angels. Closing thoughts from you.
Absolutely. Building on what Stephen said, a lot of Christians don't want to believe that there is spiritual darkness. We don't want to think about it. We like to think in our modern sensibilities that everything is just, in some way a secular reality, but it's not. And we need more than ever this heavenly intercession, this heavenly protection.
Yeah, we certainly do. It's, all I can keep thinking about is the abortion van that was in the back alley. Isn't that ironic? In the back alley of the Democratic National Convention. They killed between 2 and 3 dozen babies in there and celebrated it. Talk about the priests of Baal killing children, sacrificing them. Absolutely. Boy, do we need them. Guys, thanks very much. Well, good. We will see you next week here. The election draws nearer and nearer. Thank you for coming on. St. Michael, we need him big time, not just for the election, but for the turning back of America to God after a Trump win, if we get that. Should be praying for that too. All right, here's something to think about with the St. Michael wing right here, feather from his wing in my archery hat. Something to think about this weekend. A poll was just done at Notre Dame, the leading Catholic university in the country, asking students their preference in the election. Now, before we get to the results, here's the deal about this particular poll. First, it was done on a very small closed pool, just the students, of which there are really only just a few thousand at Notre Dame. I know it has a reputation of having like tens and tens of thousands. It's actually kind of like a glorified high school population of students there. There's nowhere near the number of students people think there are. So the results of this poll are a little more accurate than some of the larger, more established polls. Number two, Notre Dame's student body has drifted pretty left in the decades since I was a student there. For example, in my sophomore year in 1980, I and friends worked on the Reagan campaign against incumbent Jimmy Carter, sitting president, obviously then. Notre Dame was decidedly pro-Reagan, as it turned out across the country as well. So the 1980 poll of students, drawn from a cross-section all over America, because Notre Dame students are from every state in the nation, and because of that, there's a sort of a national reflection at Notre Dame. Huge, giant schools, University of Michigan, Oklahoma, Texas, their populations are largely in-state. It's the complete opposite at Notre Dame. That 1980 poll ended up predicting the final election outcome. Reagan won the Notre Dame poll 80-20, and he won the election over incumbent Jimmy Carter 50-41. But he absolutely crushed it in the Electoral College, over 400 Electoral College votes to Carter's paltry 40. So in this year's Notre Dame poll, drum roll, please. Trump beats Kamala 48-46 in the poll of about 10% of the student body. Again, Notre Dame's student body is far more left and much less Catholic than 1980 because the extremely liberal administration at Notre Dame, which has been there for a few decades now, has deliberately engineered it to be so by the students they pick. And if you doubt that, we'll never forget the Obama commencement fiasco back in 2009 and the uproarious standing ovations he got from the student body. It's hard to even really think of Notre Dame as authentically Catholic in any meaningful way anymore, despite that PR facade that the board of directors puts on. For example, Planned Parenthood supplies condoms to a student group which answers midnight calls from students, if you know what I mean, midnight calls from students, and they come running to the dorm with a supply. Gay Pride has a full week on campus. Booths, fairs, handouts, everything. Gay indoctrination happens in the dorms for all incoming freshmen on their first day. They're all brought into the same room and they get lectured about how everything's great if it's gay. It's a disgrace Notre Dame has fallen this far away from the faith. And of course, the Bishop of Fort Wayne South Bend has been pretty darn quiet about all of it. I guess he doesn't want to lose that box in the seat in the luxury box for home football games. By the way, Marcus Freeman needs to step it up. So that's why this is a truly remarkable poll. Given all of that, liberals, students, the whole bit, Trump still bests Kamala on, again, a pretty darn liberal Catholic campus. When Dems can't lock down Notre Dame, that is not a good sign for them at all. But then again, despite their embrace of liberal crap, students are among the smartest in the country at Notre Dame. Even they can sniff out the stench of Kamala's word salads and claims to be from a middle-class family. By the way, she's not from a middle-class family, and she's not black. So at least for that, go Irish. God love you. I'm Gary Michael Voris, and a wonderful, happy St. Michael's Feast Day weekend to all of you.